Hey, good, Coach. How did you like the way you guys responded? It seemed like especially, well, really everywhere, but the inside running game, you guys shut that down pretty well, and the pass defense seemed to be a lot better.
Yeah, I think other than that first drive that got down there, I think, especially with our quarterbacks, all three of them, like, if you give them some scramble lanes, like, and plays extend, like, just losing our eyes with that. But I think just generally it was an improvement from scrimmage 1 to 2, and that's what you want to see. The biggest improvement needed to be made in open field tackling. And we've got some good ball carriers, but, like, it's about those one-on-ones and executing. I thought we saw that, especially from the secondary today. That was overall a better job of making the one-on-one space plays when it happened.
Do you want to add one?
Hey, Coach. I asked Mike this. He didn't seem to care for it. It was probably a poorly worded question on my part, but he thinks that you guys dominated the day of the defense. I asked him if that was the case of you guys simply winning or more along the lines of his offense not executing well. He obviously doesn't care. It's the defense that won. I mean, for you, do you feel that you guys took the fight and kind of initiated and set the tempo for the scrimmage?
I think, last week the offense came out and they did a great job. This week, won the day, whatever that means. But, I think we execute better. We had less misfits with the linebackers. I think we did a better job of just caging the quarterback in our pass rush. We won some one-on-ones. And, listen, we got really good coaches on offense. We got good coaches on defense. And they're coaching the guys up. And then there are some one-on-one plays that, Trayshawn Ward makes Travis J miss in the open field. That's a win for the offense. Travis J gets Jay-Sean Corbin down or Trayshawn or whoever that is. I mean, it comes down to those plays sometimes. And, that's what you want to see in these scrimmages. You want to see some competitive excellence, whether it's a one-on-one with a guard or a 3 technique or it's a corner and a wideout, linebacker, tight end. There's several one-on-one battles on every play that have played with the right technique and played with good effort. Then, it comes down to who wins those matchups sometimes. And I think that's what these spring scrimmages are for.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask you, I was curious, you guys, again, started out the 2-point drill, and you guys stopped them cold. I think they got down on the goal line again on a series, and you guys stopped them again. And you did that last week. Is this really jumping out to you that you guys in these short-yarded situations, and what are you doing so well down there?
Well, I mean, some of it is just missed timing, with the offense. Those are tight throws. And I think when you get it down there, the east-west space is there, but there's no vertical passing game, just because it gets tightened down. So, I mean, the execution level at offense and defense, I mean, last week before we went out in scrimmage, the offense executed really good on a couple of those rub tandem plays. And down there, there's all picks and rubs. That's what happens in the passing game, whether it's created through motions, the running back, and, our offense puts you in a lot of tough positions. And, Coach Woodson's done a nice job with those DBs of just managing the 2-on-2 routes down there or the 3-over-3, because very rarely can you give help down there because the running game's always live, especially with our quarterback. So, it's about execution level, and, I think we're definitely making it a emphasis on it program-wide of scoring in the red zone and making them kick field goals on the defensive side. So, it's inches down there now. You say a win or a loss, but, I mean, it really comes down to 6 inches with some of these throws and catches or drop balls or pass breakups. But the communication is critical for our DBs because, it could be a difference of a 5-yard split or a 3-yard split or a stack, and they're trying to get it figured out about how you're going to play those routes. So I think the more reps we get, the better we'll get at it. And, our offense has given us a bunch of different pictures down there with the motion. So, it's good football overall. Just today happened to execute a little bit better.
Going to Brendan.
It seemed like whether it was the first team defensive line, second team, that there were a lot of splash plays from the group up front. I want to get your thoughts, I guess, on first watch on how the defensive line in general performed today.
I think we played well. I think we played well inside. I mean, early on, we let a bunch of balls out in the scramble game, and that's been a big emphasis for us this spring of just creating rush lane discipline and then winning one-on-ones, but understanding where the space is to win the one-on-ones. Because if you open up those lanes and you're playing certain coverages, there's a lot of space for those quarterbacks to see throws. So it's just about compressing the rush, we all want sacks, but within getting sacks, there's a disciplined way to do it. I thought, Coach JP and Coach Higgins, they're doing a great job of making sure our guys can answer when it's not good enough. Not effort, but just the execution and when they should come back on a block, when they got to sit down a speed rush, when they got to go to power, and just the ability to cage the pocket. And, there were some really poor examples early in the scrimmage, but I thought we got better as it went on, in the 4-man rushes and some of the 5-man rushes as well.
Going to Antoine.
To kind of piggyback on the defensive line question, just it seems like you're getting the defensive line has been able to get more consistent pressure this spring. Just talk about that and the strides that they made.
Well, I don't have the numbers, but there are some times, that we haven't gotten it the way we wanted. There's been individuals that have had really good days. I think today collectively, I think we've made some strides because you can play fast when you have a really good understanding of what the expectations are, and then you got enough skill to be able to execute it. I think the consistency with the guys that are playing with the guys has helped, and then the attention to detail. There's been some away from meeting time spent with that group for them, just ownership of what we're asking them to do within the group itself, which I think needs to continue. But you're seeing that show up. So I appreciate it from that group.
Going to Ira.
How is Steven Diggs coming along in terms of recognition and diagnosing plays and that type of thing?
Well, as we all know, we put a lot on Steven Dix last year, and the teams weren't going to slow down because he was in the game. And Steven's as consistent of a person as we have in this program. And that's not saying he's not talented. Being consistent is a talent because it's hard and you can't take it for granted. But usually consistent people that strive to be excellent get better at a higher rate. He just had a lot of on-the-job training last year, and he had some good production. But he learned through failure, learned through some success. Now we're going to reap those rewards for him because he's going to put everything into it, And so just the small footwork, the understanding, the communication, that will be a year better. I have no question about it. Not because it's a year better, but just because of who he is and how he'll take that experience and learn from it. So, I think he's made good strides. He is better than he was last fall. I have no question about that. I think Chris Marv does a great job with him. Their relationship is outstanding. And anytime you have a great player-coach relationship, you usually see growth as well. So that is continuing with Steven.
Going to Adlin.
Coach, I think Coach Norvell said earlier this week that Emmett's going to be probably out for a significant period of time or extended period of time. Are like Lundy, Dix, and Deloach, have they all been cross-trained? Can they fill that role, or is it only maybe one or two guys that can kind of help replicate or fill those shoes?
Yeah, it's right now, with Emmett being down, we moved DJ over to Mike. DJ was playing Will for a bunch. That's what he did all last year. So we put that on him right now just to get him and Steven repping there. Amari's playing Will. Kalen Deloach is playing Will. So I think, that will come. It's still a conceptual position, but there are specifics to each spot, right? So, in a perfect world, we want to be able to have interchangeable parts at linebacker. But right now, with where it's at, that's how it's playing out.
All right, we're going a couple more. Going to Gene.
Coach, the open field tackling you mentioned looked noticeably better than what we saw a lot of times last year. Is this just a function of guys being in the system, being more confident, knowing where they're supposed to be and what they're supposed to do?
Yeah, you need to be able to show them what it looks like. And like I told them, I'm dying. Like you want to sit in front of the unit and show them, great clips so they can replicate it. You don't want to keep showing them what they're doing wrong. So we can do it in the drill. And that's the thing about tackling. It's, in this day and age, there's only so many opportunities to go get live people on the ground. So you replicate in drills. But, tackling it's a lot about angles. There's a good percentage about tackling its angles. But then, there's a 30, 40% about want to. and just the willingness to get a man on the ground and physically grab a guy and get him on the ground or knock him back. And, that's a mentality that we need to have. And it doesn't mean need to have when you feel confident, when it's just, this is how we tackle. And this is the expectation. And this is I know last week made a big deal about making one-on-ones, whether it's a wide-out DB catching the ball. But there's a couple plays. The ball carrier's running, you're tracking it, you're pressing near hip, and you got to keep your speed, you got to maintain speed and angles, and you got to have the willingness to finish in the correct way with some grit and make those plays and make it 2nd and 9 and not 2nd and 1. And so there are drills. I think the same wording and the same explanation of the players, that's obviously going to help them, right? Anytime you can be consistent with the message. But just the desire to tackle is something that we need to continue to develop. And when you develop that, you'll play better defense because it's about pursuing one and tackling two. And you got to be able to do those two things in order to give yourself a chance.
Last one going to Ira.
Jadarius Green McKnight had a couple plays today on defense and special teams. Is that happening more often for him now that he's been on campus for a little bit longer?
Yeah, Jadarius was out here early through practice, so he's still a ball in high grass at some point. So we're trying to get that grass lowered with him. We're trying to keep him in one spot. But Jadarius does have skill. I mean, he can run. He's physical. He's got good ball skills. He showed up a little bit on special teams last year. Was down early in the spring. Now it's the consistency of the reps. So hopefully we did see him. I saw him make an open field tackle today. Saw him block a kick. So those are obviously plays. I mean, that's not something we take for granted around here. We're going to celebrate the good. And so we're going to do that with him. We got to keep building with it.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.